everybody, Tony D with a Webcomic Factory thing about Tales of Pizza. Tales of Pizza is a webcomic we do on the Webcomic Factory based on my experience as a pizza delivery guy. When I got out of college, I delivered pizzas for a while. I think for about a year. Maybe less. Maybe less. I forget what I fell into after that, but I guess I got a better job. But I actually kind of enjoyed delivering pizzas because it was all cash. You were outside. You got to move around. I do love pizza. I didn't particularly like the pizza made at the place I worked at. And one of my experiences, which I put in the comic, was I walked in one day and one of the one of the cooks was stirring a pot of sauce using his hairy arm. Yeah. And I was like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, oh, I lost my spoon. He was stirring the pot with his arm. I'm like, you can't do that. He's like, oh, don't worry about it. I'm just going to boil up, I'm going to boil it. And that's the kind of corners they cut at the old pizza. The place I used to work is long out of business, I think. But, some of the things that happened there, I put into the comic. I had kind of a sketchy boss who was always cutting corners and stuff. So the main character of Tales of Pizza is Mitch Pepper. And initially I thought I would name all the characters after pizza toppings, but there were so many characters eventually I kind of had to abandon that. So that's why his name is Mitch Pepper. And also Mitch was a character I started to develop. I did a sketch back in college called the Pizza Guy sketch about a guy who had to deliver a pizza, and it ends up that he's delivering it to a bunch of bank robbers. But it's Captain Pizza, and he has to dress in a ridiculous costume, and he hates his job, and he's just a miserable guy. And then the cops show up, and he gets trapped with the bank robbers, and at some point, the bank robbers eventually give up, after ruining Mitch's delivery and day. And when Mitch realizes he's not getting a tip, he sort of restarts the hostage situation in reverse and demands that the police buy his pizza. And then, of course, the police say, will you honor our coupon? To which Mitch reacts, if I see a coupon, I will shoot everybody in here, and he gets his money. But that was just a comedy sketch. Tales of Pizza is a little more grounded in reality. So Mitch is the main character, and the original artist was Tim Riccadio. He had this sort of style, which was sort of I don't know what you'd call it, maybe sort of almost like a rat fink, kind of exaggerated. I wanted the characters to be ugly, and he made them fairly ugly. And this is the boss, Ronaldo, who's kind of sleazy. And eventually, Tim only did a few strips before he left, and that started back in 2012. Then this artist who did a few strips, Dula Wu, and he had a more cartoony, energetic style, and he kept the basic look of Mitch, but changed it a bit. I think he only did 2 strips. Yeah, he only did 2 strips. And then the guy who has done most of the strips. I think we've done 300. He's done 300 strips on his own. Is Vig Starmax, one of the stars of the Webcomic Factory. I'll say this is his first strip, and this is Spicer, who also drove at Catios. So it was Mitch and Spicer were the pizza delivery guys, and then Conchita was the cashier. Um, and Spicer was a cool guy, and everything worked out for him. And Mitch was kind of the guy that nothing worked out for, at least initially. And you could see Mitch is having a pretty miserable time. He's got kind of a starter stash here. And this was a storyline also based on a true story. I delivered to the guys in the pizza shop one day said, this woman wants a pizza, and I forget her name, and nobody wanted to deliver it. And I was much like Mitch. I was kind of miserable. So like, I'll deliver it. What do I care? Because I was just sitting around doing nothing that day, and I figured, yeah, I'll deliver it. And everybody laughed, and I was just like, what? What's the big deal? And they were like, you'll know. And I worked with a bunch of idiots who I didn't respect, so I didn't care that when they went, I said, oh, it's probably something stupid. So I went over to this woman's house to deliver the pizza. And I swear to you this happened. I got to the door, and she was like, I got to get the money, come in. Now, she was not as good looking as drawn in the cartoon, but she was an older lady. I would describe her as a former biker chick who was beautiful at one point, but had a lot of miles on her and had a lot of rough years, right? And I was out of college, so I was like 22, 23. And I was just like, yeah, okay. And I walked in, and, this is like late 80s, so rules were a little different. Like now, like they tell the pizza guys, you cannot walk into a customer's house. Do not walk in under any circumstances. But, she's just like, oh, come in. And I'm like, okay. So I come into the doorway, and she's like, no. I got to get the money. Come in. And so I like walked in further. And I felt weird about walking in her house, but I was just like trying to hurry her up to get her damn money. So then she said, would you mind putting the pizza on my kitchen table, which was like deeper into the house? So I went in and I put it on the table, and I'm starting to get annoyed because I just want my money and I want to leave, and I'm wondering if she's going to tip me. And then she goes, oh no, not that side of the table, can you put it on the other side of the table? And the way the kitchen table was sort of positioned, it was against the wall, so really the only thing I could do was reach across with the pizza and set it down. The moment I did, she got behind me and grabbed both my butt cheeks. And at that moment, I realized what I had walked into. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And she started making all sorts of innuendos about, the pizza guy delivering. And at 23, like, first off, to me, at that time, she was not attractive at all. And I was just like, no way I would have sex with this woman. Like now, if it happened, I would have been like, yeah, all right, whatever. But back then I was just like way too uptight. So I was just like, oh, no. I'm just here to deliver the pizza, ma'am. And she's grabbing me, and I'm trying to get the money. She's got the money, and she's teasing me. And eventually I get the money, and I'm like backing out, and I've got my little, you get your little hot box there that to keep the pizza, and I'm just trying to get out of the place, and she's playing games with me, trying to keep me there. And I swear, I get outside, and we did this in the comic, and say, this is me, like, trying to figure out why she's... And then I put the pizza over there, and then, boom, she grabs me, and then, she's like, all over me, and I'm trying to get out of the place, and then I get outside, and then I run into her husband. Now, her husband in real life was fatter than this character here. He was literally like 400 pounds. I mean, he was like record epic size. And he had a cowboy hat. And he had a friend with him, too. And I was just like, whoa, I did not do anything but deliver a pizza. I just delivered the pizza, and I'm leaving. That's all I wanted to do. And I just left. And thankfully he didn't beat me up. Now like at the time I just thought, oh my god, never again. But now that I know that like some couples are into that weirdness, like catching a guy having sex with your wife is some sort of fetish, some cuckold fetish that they had. I don't know what would have happened if it actually had done. Would they have just, would I have finished, or would I have been interrupted and like have to like flee? Would they have beaten me up? Like, I don't know what would have happened, but thankfully I just got out of there, and I put it in a comic. So stuff like that, and I had a lot of stories, and because we've gone so, I mean, Vig is so talented with his art. Um, this is a little later. This is where Mitch gets robbed by two idiots. I never got robbed as a pizza guy, but I heard other people who had gotten robbed, and I heard their stories. And this is Mitch again with Ronaldo and Catios. Catios was most like the place I worked at. But then later we did a thing where Catios gets a new chef, and they start making all kinds of crazy money. But then there's a rival pizza place, and eventually it all culminates with Mitch getting fired. And so he ends up working for Pietro's Pizza. And Pietro is kind of a shifty guy who runs sort of a one-man operation as a pizza guy, but he's just disgusting as a cook. And he's also very sketchy. Like, he steals, he's got this stolen radio, and these are the various customers. A lot of the strips are about the crazy customers, because there was a lot of that going on. People just asking for ridiculous money, change. Like, there was like 4 cents of change. Oh, where's my change? I don't have 4 cents to give you. I'm not giving you 4 cents. I don't carry around pennies to give you change. Back then it was all cash. These days you could do a lot of credit card and whatnot, and then so we've done tons. This was like a sort of a super fat crossover. This was also based on a true story. Back in the day, my comedy show, we shot part of our comedy show at a frat house, and we used the letters from super frat up here, and they just got really drunk and belligerent, the frat brothers, and they ended up lighting a branch on fire and putting it across the driveway so we couldn't leave with our camera equipment. And I think we got out before they put the branch, but we got out and then they put this flaming branch across the driveway. It was just nuts. It was just crazy college hijinks. And then this was another one where he goes back to the frat house, and they put his tip on top of the roof and dare him to get it down. They think he's going to climb the rope, but instead Mitch throws the pizza up there and gets $100 bill, and it goes all over the frat house. So like in this strip, the pizza guy always wins. And then later, Mitch meets Sierra on a pizza delivery, and she is smitten with Mitch, and they fall in love, and she keeps ordering pizzas, and eventually they have sex, and then they become boyfriend, girlfriend. Eventually they move in with each other. So Sierra is now a regular occurring character on the series, and she's not in every strip, but she's in several strips. In this strip, Pietro sort of abandons the store, and Mitch has to cook the pizzas and deliver them. And then he asks Sierra for help, but she's a musician. She's not like a pizza person. So, and then in this strip, you find out Pietro only did that because he wanted a day off, and then he orders a pizza just to sort of rub it in. And then, so for a lot of the strips, for a few years, we had Mitch and Pietro. They had this sort of relationship where Pietro was kind of like a father figure almost. And although Mitch would try to get Pietro to clean up his act. So we had one strip where Pietro was using the boxes he had salvaged from other pizza places to deliver his pizzas. And Mitch gets him to stop doing that. And then in this one, Mitch thinks he gets $100 tip, or $50 tip, but he looks at it and it's one of these like church going giveaways that looks like a $50 bill, but when you unfold it, it's actually a brochure. And you can see how over the years Mitch has evolved, and how the characters sort of evolve over the years, and Vig's art style has changed somewhat. Currently, Mitch works for Pizza Corp. And what happened was we had a storyline where Pietro loses his store because he loses it in a gambling or something, and so Mitch is out of work again, and he gets a job at Pizza Corp, and Mitch eventually gets Pietro a job at Pizza Corp, and this is their new boss, Chappie. Although Chappie just got fired recently, and Chappie is just like a total corporate d-bag, and recently Mitch became the boss because he had been the assistant manager, but we'll see how long that lasts because we have to go back to the status quo. So this is today's pizza Tales of Pizza at Pizza Corp, and it's a storyline where since Mitch was the boss, the other drivers were mad at him, so they stole all the money for one day of work, and Mitch was going to get in trouble, but then they felt bad about it, and now they're trying to make up for the lost money by delivering pizzas after midnight, but they're still very short. But then they get robbed, and this robber character actually appeared in an earlier strip. He robbed Mitch in another strip much earlier, and then Pietro here tries to save the day by putting a can opener up against the back of the head of the robber, and and then he makes reference to when Mitch got robbed, Pietro demanded to know who robbed him, and so they went out in the car, and Mitch could tell that Pietro was like crazy, like he had a gun, and he thought like Pietro would shoot the guy, and this robber character was like a scary dude. And so Mitch ends up lying and telling him that these other guys who did kind of rob him but didn't, these two idiots were the robbers, and then Pietro beats the crap out of them. So in this scene here, this is a callback to that. So we have about 310 strips, I think, or 307, something like that. My numbering system is a little off. Sometimes we get messed up in terms of the numbering. But Tales of Pizza is definitely one of our most popular strips. So check it out. And if you've ever delivered pizzas, I think you'll really like it. And if you ever just worked a crappy minimum wage job, I think you'll like it. Because there's a lot of humor about that. Just working a low-level grunt job, and how everybody tries to get you, and how everybody tries to get over on you, and how you have to get over on them, and how customers are annoying, and things like that. And plus, everybody loves pizza, right? You gotta love pizza. So Tales of Pizza on the Webcomic Factory every Friday. Vig Starmax is the artist. I am the writer. And I hope you enjoy it. So that's it for videos today. And speaking of enjoying, if you've enjoyed these videos, smash like and subscribe. And if you enjoy me and Vig Starmax, Vig also does the cover for the Pineys. And the Pineys are my novella series. There are 5 books available. We're running a contest. Book 5 just came out in ebook form, and if you download and read the ebook, which only cost, I believe it's $2.99, if you read it and figure out what story I based this episode of the Pineys on, you will get, the first person who does it will get signed copies of the first 4 Pineys books. If you live in the United States or someplace where I can mail it to, where it won't cost me an arm and a leg. Last time I told you I mailed something on my Kickstarter to Russia, and it cost me like $150. So if you live in Russia or someplace weird, no, you're not eligible. But, United States and, normal places. Maybe Europe. I think Europe is reasonable. But if you're from a foreign country and you guess, we'll probably work something out. At the very least, I can get you the ebooks or something. Yeah, so check that out. The links are on the Webcomic Factory website, which makes it all convenient for you. Just scroll down. Otherwise, you can go to Amazon.com and search the Pineys. That's it for today, and I will see you tomorrow.